Hello, this is Heaven's Reader Astrology here with your astrological forecast. Now we have a lunar eclipse coming up on May 5th. That's the counterpart of the solar eclipse we had back in April. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the lunar eclipse that we're going to see, what it might mean in general, and then walk it through each of the 12 signs of the zodiac so that we can have a little bit of a horoscope view for how this might show up in your life. Again, I'm a Hellenistic astrologer, so that means that I'm going to be using whole sign houses, and I'm going to be speaking primarily to your rising sign. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and listen to your sun sign, but just know that the rising sign will allow me to more accurately place this eclipse within your natal chart, and so the horoscope has a greater chance of pertaining to you personally. Another note that I would like to add: the things that I mention are not necessarily concrete predictions. These are just topics, events, themes that are likely to be activated for each rising sign over the next month or so. These are examples of types of things to look out for. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment telling me how this eclipse shows up in your life. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about what this eclipse means in a general sense. So as we can see here, this eclipse is falling in Scorpio, and it's going to be opposed by the Sun along with Mercury and Uranus here over in the sign of Taurus. So our solar eclipse was in Aries, and our lunar eclipse, that is sort of the flip side of that, is happening primarily over here in Scorpio. And because eclipses come in pairs like this, I like to try and weave those two themes together. And so for me, beginning in Aries, ending in Scorpio, this feels like restless energy, wanting to commit to action, feeling the need to be bold. And then, with the advent of this lunar eclipse in Scorpio, suddenly feeling a little less certain about what we started, maybe wanting to almost pump the brakes a little bit. We have a nice example here. Scorpio is among many things, talking about the energy of intensity, defense, maybe even fear or instinct. It could also be catharsis or impermanence. And just like with Aries, with our solar eclipse, Scorpio in an ancient astrology standpoint is ruled by Mars, which is still down here in its fall in Cancer. We also see that the moon itself in this lunar eclipse is in its fall in Scorpio. And so opposing the sun here in Taurus, we get the feeling that there may be some tension here between comfortable stability, things that we are familiar with, the status quo, and this desire for change, and also the uncertainty that comes with change, with impermanence, with things passing or evolving, transforming. And I would like to highlight that tension between comfortable stability and the uncertainty of change as one of the broader themes of this eclipse. Also, last time we talked about how solar eclipses tend to symbolize beginnings, inception, changes in life direction, doors opening. Lunar eclipses, because they are essentially sort of a heightened full moon, these tend to represent endings, things coming full circle, completion, fruition, doors closing. This could also be changes in circumstance or body. In ancient astrology, the sun usually dictated sort of the soul's journey, your life direction, your life purpose, while the moon tended to symbolize your circumstances, the more changeable parts of life. It could also represent the body in a general sense. So we could be talking about the end of a cycle here, the closing of a chapter in life, and then that bit of nervousness about, well, what comes next. Maybe I really don't want to exactly let go because I don't know what's coming. And this, speaking of cycles, eclipses themselves come in cycles, not just the solar eclipse, lunar eclipse pairing that I talked about, but larger cycles on a much, much broader scale of time. Eclipse cycles tend to start at one of the Earth's poles and then spiral around, meeting each other every, I would say, maybe 9 to 18 years to form a new eclipse. It takes 18, roughly, for the sun and the moon to be back with the nodes that they were. 9, and they will be at the opposite node. So roughly 18 years for the cycle to make a complete revolution so that the sun and moon are with the correct nodes again. So we're looking at a period that is closing, coming to an end, that may have begun in your life roughly 18 years ago. So some of you may not be quite old enough for anything major to be happening in your life 18 years ago. That's fine. This can also just represent a transition from one life chapter to another in a more general sense. But for those of you who are slightly older, like myself, think back to where you were in your life, 2004, 2005, and consider things that may have been going on then. This might be talking about identities that you formed if you were, for example, in high school around that time. You know, that's a very formative part of a person's life. What did you sort of become at that point? How were you growing? What directions were you traveling in? So forth and so on. So this is just something to consider to help contextualize exactly what might be coming to a close with this lunar eclipse. And this lunar eclipse, this is not just going to be felt on May 5th. This is a slow building and slow releasing astrological event. And so this is going to be unfolding over the next several weeks to a month or so. Another thing to consider here is that the sun and the moon, as you can see, are forming a T-square with Pluto, which, by the way, has just recently stationed retrograde. And so this is going to highlight this theme of change, of transformation, possibly of catharsis intensity. And the fact that Pluto here is retrograde. That could mean, for example, that this is going to be sort of a slow burn. This is going to take some time for its full effects to come into being. Alternatively, this could be indicative that something that was gained might then be lost. The whole one step forward, two steps back situation. That's another interpretation that we sometimes give to retrograde planets. So, as counterintuitive as it might seem, it might be worthwhile to take moments over this eclipse period and consider looking back before trying to move forward. So, with this in mind, let's take a look at this eclipse through each of the 12 signs. Again, listen for your rising sign, and these are the types of topics or themes. These are examples of what you could look for, things that might be activated for you in this particular period, depending on what this eclipse touches in your own personal natal chart. Starting off with Aries rising over here on the ascendant. So if you are an Aries rising, then this eclipse will be taking place along the 2nd, 8th axis, with the lunar eclipse itself taking place in the 8th house over here. Now, the 8th house is in ancient astrology associated with debt, with obligation, with contracts, with bounds. This is also associated with other people's money. So what I'm seeing here is a release from debt or obligation, letting go of a bond that you have with someone or something. We could also talk about a bond that is somehow transformed or created anew for Aries rising. So the release of some sort of a debt, some sort of an obligation, the release, letting go of some connection that you have with someone or something, or that connection, that tie being transformed in some shape, form, or fashion. Moving on, Taurus. If you are a Taurus rising, then that puts this eclipse on the first 7th axis, with the eclipse itself taking place in the 7th house. We're talking about the release of, or the coming to completion of some sort of relationship, coming to a culmination. And this doesn't just have to be the relationship that you have with a spouse or significant other. That's the thing that everybody jumps to immediately. But this can talk about lots of different types of relationships. This could talk about partnerships in business. This could talk about those people who are very, very close to you, who sort of represent the person that is by your side as you move through this world. In a lot of cases, this could be a significant other, but this is not the only interpretation here. So we see a release or a culmination, a coming to full completion of this sort of relationship for Taurus rising. This could be not just saying goodbye or parting ways, not just a release. This could be a change in the nature of the relationship. This could be taking it to the next level for any critical or significant partnership. So either a culmination of a relationship, some sort of a transformation. That is what we are having for Taurus rising. All right, let's move to Gemini rising. This is going to take place in your 6th house. So the 6th house in ancient astrology is the house of strife. So we could be seeing conflict for Gemini rising coming to the surface, but not just coming to the surface in order to make trouble. This could be conflict showing up, surfacing in order to be resolved, because this is a lunar eclipse. This is talking about endings. This is talking about closure. So conflict coming up for the purpose of being faced and resolved. This could be a crisis that leads to something meaningful as the dust settles. This could be a sign of relief. So even though this may not necessarily feel the most pleasant in the moment, this is something that I see as being quite positive in the long run for Gemini rising. The opportunity rather, to confront and settle some sort of grief, or strife, or grievance. This could also be, because the 6th house is related to health and sickness, this could be the ending of a period of sickness for some of you. The 6th house is also in ancient astrology associated with toil, with labor, not necessarily career, advancing, moving up in the world, reputation, that sort of thing. That's more of a 10th house topic. But the hard toil, the labor that is grueling, that's not productive, that you don't get thanked for. So maybe this could be a release from a sort of thankless job full of drudgery for Gemini rising. Okay, Cancer rising. Put Cancer on the ascendant. Then we're going to have our eclipse over here in the 5th house, the house that is in ancient astrology associated with pleasure, with creativity. This could indicate a release or an ending around something related to pleasure or desire. Because we have Mars and the Moon both in their fall here, this might indicate that this is a thing that's not doing you much good. I have the idea, for whatever reason, maybe somebody deciding to stop drinking, for an example. And that's something that we associate with pleasure, with letting loose, with having fun, but it's bringing negative unintended consequences. And so we have a release, a closure, a turning away from that's associated here. This is the type of thing that I'm talking about for the fifth house lunar eclipse. We could also, because the fifth house is associated with our creation, which, you know, is a grand metaphor for children, we could also see some difficulty with kids if you have any children. Yeah, that's what I have for Cancer rising. Release or something ending around a potentially toxic point of pleasure, or difficulty with children, difficulty trying to have children. If you do have children, maybe some difficulty relating with them, stemming from your relationship with them. This is something to be aware of for Cancer rising. All right, for Leo rising, that's going to place the eclipse in your fourth house, which in ancient astrology is the house of home and family, home and hearth. So this could be an ending or a rebirth, transformation around the home and family. This could be some sort of transformation or closure around a sense of security. So this might look like, in the most extreme sense, parting from family. This could be if you were younger, maybe you're moving out on your own, saying goodbye to the sort of family unit that you were a part of throughout your childhood and becoming more independent. If you are older, this could mean leaving your home, moving somewhere new. This could mean some sort of a change in your family units involving a separation or release. This could be something involving your sense of stability and security. The fourth house is sort of the foundation of the wheel that we see here. And so this could be interpreted as a slow burning ending or closure, coming to sort of a full circle point with something that you used to feel that sense of stability, that sense of security in your life, and having then to figure out, well, what do I do? How do I feel stable now? Is stability possible in a meaningful sense? You know, all stability, if we look at the forces of entropy, all stability is really just a stopgap measure. It's illusion, right? So having to face that sort of crisis is a possible interpretation for how this might appear for a Leo rising. Okay, for Virgo rising, your eclipse is going to be in your third house. The third house, we could see a period of intense communication. This could be an ending or a release involving siblings or very close friends, a period of intense transformation or upheaval or closure regarding your routine. If you were a person that feels nurtured, nourished by the dependability, the stability that an everyday routine offers, this could indicate a period of upheaval regarding that. We could also be seeing change or upheaval regarding local environment. And I don't just mean, you know, the physical sort of earth, the environment from a conservationist standpoint, but your local environments. This could be in a physical sense, like the city or town where you live. This could be the land. This could be your interpersonal environment, your mental or emotional environment, literally any sort of space in which you position yourself as part of your external or internal surroundings, could be discussed here. We could also interpret this as some sort of a disruption, thanks to that Pluto influence and the Scorpio energy here. Some sort of disruption regarding mind, maybe an obstacle involving the mind coming to light, something, maybe some sort of mental issues that have been sort of a thorn in your side coming to light in order to be confronted, in order to be looked at and resolved. This eclipse in a lot of ways is about resolutions, right? So for Virgo risings, that is something to look out for. These are the types of things to be mindful of. Okay. Libra rising. So this is happening in your second house. If you're a Libra rising, this is the house of resources, of finance, of the things that you have at your disposal to help further your own ends in ancient astrology. So this could be a change involving money or resources. This could be the ending of some sort of avenue of support or income. This could be the closing of a business, the completion of a deal, or something like that. This could be a reevaluation of your spending habits or your money management. This could be a sort of business venture that is coming to a point of culmination, coming to fruition, and then closure. So these are things to look for as a Libra rising. Some sort of change or completion or ending involving money, spending, ventures, resources, things like that. For Scorpio rising, as you can see, this is taking place in your first house. So this is a closing of a chapter of life in a big way for Scorpio rising, a change in the body, in the mind, in the identity or sense of self. This is really one of those moments where we have a possible crisis of individuation, realizing that the self that you have constructed may no longer be entirely representative of the self that you find yourself becoming, the self that you wish to be. So having to address how much you cling to and identify with that, how comfortable you are wearing the mask, and how willing you would be to remove it. This is sort of a big point for Scorpio risings. This could also indicate a change in health, as the first house often represents the body, in addition to the self in a more psycho-emotional sense. So maybe you find that the person that you are is not necessarily in line with the person that you thought you were, or the person that you wanted to project to the world, and then have to sort of deal with that. How do you negotiate that? What does that mean for you? That could be something to look out for, these types of themes for this particular eclipse period for Scorpio rising. If we put Sagittarius on the ascendant, then the eclipse will be taking place in the 12th house. So this, the 12th house in ancient astrology is often associated with fairly unpleasant things, unfortunately. This is the house of bad fortune. So we could be looking at isolation. This in ancient astrology is often associated with imprisonment, loneliness, things of that nature, maybe hidden enemies. But this is a lunar eclipse, so we're looking at closure, at completion, at endings, and moving on. So maybe a release from, or alternatively, a release of some sort through a period of isolation for Sagittarius rising. Maybe becoming aware of something that is going on in your subconscious, and then having a breakthrough regarding that. It could be that this is something that leads to a withdrawal, a retreat, that sort of isolation that we discussed, this sort of turning inward in order to deal with that. But this, because it's a lunar eclipse, does indicate a coming to fruition, coming full circle, a closure and ending. So however this turns up, this withdrawal, this isolation, could end up coming to a close, leading to a breakthrough, and allowing you to move forward with greater grace and clarity in the world. If we consider the 12th house as the house of hidden enemies, or self-destructive behavior, self-undoing, then this could be breaking ties with these things that lead us into self-destruction, that lead us into a self-undoing. This could be hidden enemies coming to light and then parting ways. So in either case, much like the Gemini rising with the 6th house, this might be a difficult period with some soul searching to do. But in the end, this seems to be a rather positive indication for Sagittarius rising. If we put Capricorn on the ascendant, then the eclipse is taking place in the 11th house. That's the house of allies in ancient astrology. So this could be a change or an ending with certain friends or groups that you associate with. Maybe you just find that you're growing in separate directions. Maybe life circumstances take you away from each other. These are things that happen from time to time. So a change or an ending in associations, in friends, in groups, in allies, or in modes of support, because the 11th house is also the house of those who support you in your aims. So perhaps this is a coming to fruition of a particular aim of yours, a particular wish or dream, an ambition of yours, or a change or an ending in support that you have moving toward that. Maybe the goal is realized, so you don't need the support anymore. Maybe this is a leg of that journey that you have to undertake alone. Either way, these are the types of themes for Capricorn rising. Look for some sort of completion, closure, fruition, or transformation in allies and supporters in your endeavors. For Aquarius rising, this is going to take place within your 10th house. So we see here fruition or culmination regarding work, career, professional life. So something that you have been striving toward involving your career, involving your reputation, is finally coming to a payoff moment, is finally coming full circle, coming to a point of completion where you can attain the thing that you have been working toward. For some people, this might mean retirement. This might mean finally getting that promotion that you've been working so hard to earn. This could be breaking ties with a company. This could be a project that you have been working on, finally completed. Lots of different ways to interpret this. So fruition or culmination, completion involving your professional life or your reputation. Which brings us finally to Pisces. So this is taking place for Pisces rising in your 9th house. This is the house of belief. This is the house of spirituality. So maybe this could be a transformation of your own personal beliefs. This could be a change in your religious affiliation, maybe an ending of a particular religious affiliation. This could be one example of a type of thing that you might see. It would be leaving the church, maybe. Because after some sort of soul searching, you realize that maybe it's not quite the best fit for you anymore. This could also be an intense event or experience that then has a shaping influence on your philosophical, spiritual views, your beliefs, how you come to understand the world and your place within it. This could be some sort of significant occurrence in your life that has a profound effect, pushing you then to examine, reevaluate, and possibly change your stance on those things for Pisces rising. So that's been a general overview of this lunar eclipse on May 5th, along with a look at each of the rising signs and how this eclipse might interact with those, the topics, themes, or events that might be activated during this period for each of the rising signs, examples of things to look out for. So be sure to take the general interpretation of this eclipse, these general themes that we talked about, and sort of apply those to the specific topics that might be activated for your rising sign as well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later.